Welcome, Russell and Josh. Thanks for meeting with me today so we can talk about the great things that God is doing through all things for the kingdom. Russell Royer, production team extraordinaire, everything and anything. Russell's there. And Josh Kelly. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us about yourself. But I've known you for, like 9 years is how long I've been at Connection Point, and I think you guys were probably my first small group leader, host, house. And man, so many things have changed since then for better and for worse, but mostly for better. And just in the time that I've known you, you've just grown this whole thing that you call all things for the kingdom. And so thanks for sharing that with us. Russell is a member, a volunteer with Josh, as well as a couple other production team members like Brian Webb, Jim Ambler, maybe more. I can't remember. But
Dennis Tilford.
Oh yeah,
Dennis. Okay. Yeah, Dennis was out
Cool.
there.
Yeah, so man, just what a great way to serve people, and Josh, you make it so inviting for people to come and hang out with you and sharing the joy with you. But so why don't you tell us what is All Things for the Kingdom?
Well, I actually founded All Things for the Kingdom about 4 or 5 years ago, and it just started out to help in someone else's ministry. And quite frankly, Scott, God has grown it immensely. If you had asked me 4 years ago, this is where we would be, I would have called you a liar. And it's all God, you know. So my current role is now executive director and president. And really, as we continue, All Things for the Kingdom is basically a resource sharing ministry. And the key word is resources, whether it be dealing around food insecurity, homeless, unhoused problems, to relational discipleship, spreading the gospel, going out and meeting people where they're at. It's really, if you can sum it up in the 4 words, find a need, fill it.
Yeah, you definitely found a need and definitely filled it. I guess, why did you start doing this? Like, what was the ache that you felt?
So as I was growing my relationship with God, I was really trying to find my purpose. You know, it really comes back down to that Psalm scripture where I created every hair on your head. I knew what your purpose was. You know, I'm bad at quoting word, but you know which one I'm talking about. Formed you in your mother's womb, and that one. I want to say it's Psalms 133. Don't quote. Anyway, as I was getting closer to God, he was really trying to edge me towards that purpose. And it all started with me improving my relationship with him. And so as I got closer with him, he was showing me the correct way to love. And I just mimicked that. And it really started to push me towards my purpose. And so I have a background in culinary, competition barbecue, food truck, and really kind of stuff I play with, not my primary occupation, but just stuff that I'm passionate about. And as I was trying to think about, God was edging me to give back, especially to the community that I work in. I was trying to think of something, start something, and I found out one of my friends was doing something. And so they had this other ministry called Whitestone Ministries. Called them up. They were like, come see what we do. I said, cool. Went on out there, and they were trying to feed 200 people with a backyard grill. And I was like, I can improve that right there. And so I just told myself, I said, if I'm going to do this, and it really kind of started mainly with just feeding the unhoused people in our city of Indianapolis. I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to feed them. Number one, I wanted it to be good, right? I wanted it to be filling, and I wanted it to be hot. But I told myself, I said, if I'm going to fix this type of food, I'm going to fix them the same food as if my family would eat, as if they were coming into my home and eating at my table. And so I just got really good at it. And I actually got out there and I started establishing, like when I first got out there, I was like, let me remember somebody's name. Let me remember somebody's name. And then about the third week, I'm like, what's up, David? And David looks at me and he looks at me and like surprised. He's like, you remember my name. And that's when I really started to realize we are all, as you start to meet folks, we're all, one medical problem, one job loss, one major crisis away from being in somebody's position like that. I cannot tell you how many stories I have talked to when meeting people where they're at, where normal lives and one major catastrophe happens, and now they're in this situation. And so that's I started to identify the need. And as I really kind of went down the rabbit hole, I kind of just found more needs. And I'm a problem solver. So I'm like, okay, how can we fix this? And you should really kind of start seeing vision. So that's really kind of how it started.
And Russell, what got you there? What was the question that you were asking?
Well, it's more of who I connected with at our church that invited me to come and serve to see how things were going with All Things for the Kingdom. And that was Chris Groves, who was already serving with Josh. So it was kind of a invitation challenge kind of thing. Like, hey, I know you through having already served with production and knowing you. I think maybe you would be interested in helping with this ministry. So come on Christmas. It was probably about little over a year and a half ago, and served for the first time. And, having worked in the city as a truck driver, I see an occasional homeless person here and there at different places. And that Christmas for me, when I saw probably, I think Josh could back me up on this, probably in excess of 300 people or more come across that parking lot to us to be, for us to have an opportunity to serve and reach out to these folks and say, hey, we love you. You matter to us. We're here to share the love of Jesus with you. And, these folks need encouragement. They need to know that they matter. And I'd say that's what brought me back, because every time that I go, meeting these folks and just seeing, hearing, and listening, they just want to be understood, seen, and heard.
Yeah. Josh, you mentioned David. Is there a story that you share or would share with us about a guy like David? Just a life that you felt like was so impacted by the work that God was doing through you for this group of people?
Yeah, actually, so my go-to one, because I think this is great, it really doesn't focus around me, because the one thing that All Things for the Kingdom does is we kind of set this table. And remember, we're coming back to this I have this food philosophy where food brings people to the table. You have to realize is that once we get out there, it's not just about the plates that we serve. Those plates, the food, the hot cup of coffee, it's opening up an opportunity to have a conversation. And those are where your real Jesus encounters happen. Those are where the gospel is really spread naturally and organically. And so that not only happens with the people we are serving, but it also happens with the people who serve alongside us too. Because as we have a bunch of CP members who serve with us, there are a lot from other churches. There are some people who don't have a relationship with Jesus, but they see us doing good things in the community. And so the story I like to share with you is a story of a guy. His name is David Parent. David goes to Connection Point. He has been volunteering with us probably since in conception, right? And he jumped in both feet first. That is just the type of servant he is, similar to Russell. And Russell is a utility guy. I get you. He is perfect word to describe Russell. But David jumped in both feet first, and then he started bringing his wife, right? His wife's name is Alicia. They started coming. Then he started bringing his kids. They both one is Jackson, just graduated from Purdue, and Lily is his daughter. I think she has 1 year left. Whole family comes down. And so when we go out on these Saturday mornings, and in the wintertime, Indiana winters, it could be brutal, right? But we look at it and we say, if they're out there, we're going to be out there. And so when you start hearing the weatherman throw around terms like polar vortex, right? I will call our volunteers up, because our volunteers are our biggest resource, right? And I'll call them up and say, or I'll put something out on our social media page. Hey, we're going to take a skeleton crew out. We know how to handle the code. Always Russell's in that core group, and say, and generally when we go out like something like that, we'll still serve 100 to 125 folks, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll say, hey, we're going to take them back. We don't want anybody to get frostbite. We know how to handle the cold weather. We've learned a few tricks of the trade here and there. And David calls me up and he says, this is David Perrin. He says, hey, Josh, I got to come with you. And I said, Dave, why do you got to come with me? He goes, well, I've been talking to Don. I'm like, who's Don? Well, for the last 8 months, David had befriended a homeless guy named Don. And he was talking to him, establishing a relationship. And then Jesus came in. And so he said, well, I wanted to offer, I said, I wasn't going to tell you this, Josh, but I wanted to offer Don a job at my company. And Don actually turned him down on that job, but their friendship happened. Now Don has an apartment. Don has a car. Don has a job. I just seen Don yesterday. He was down there serving plates with us, and he comes out every month faithfully. I have homeless guys who come in who are now asking for Don because Don is sharing the gospel with them, right? That's how that works. So it's not just the service part. And then you got to really look at it as the aspect of me and Russell, right? When we go out and we serve together and we've had so many spiritual conversations, and this isn't just me and Russell one-on-one, other brothers and sisters in Christ, we're there supporting each other. That's what discipleship looks like, right? That when we are serving together, we are actually participating in discipleship. And so that's the other part about it. So when you create this table, right, and everybody comes to the table, and then you let God serve everybody. You let God kind of take control. And quite honestly, Scott, I think that's the one thing that All Things for the Kingdom does best. It's like whatever we get involved in, whatever project, whether it's, feeding the women's shelter, whether it's doing, sponsoring kids, helping with kids 3-on-3 basketball tournaments in the inner city, where there's a lot of violence with our youth here. We set this table, and we're not browbeating you with fire and brimstone sermons or John 3:16 you to death, right? We go out there and we show people the Jesus in us. And when we do that, at some point in that conversation, they say in one phrase or another, why are you guys doing this? You guys are different, because the Bible calls us as Christians to look different from this world. That's when the opportunity presents it to say, well, let me tell you what Jesus has done for me in my life. Let me tell you about my Jesus.
The fact that you're serving these folks who need to be served, just by our calling as Christians, we are called to serve, but it's not just about really what we are pouring out necessarily. The communion of it, I think it filled me up too. Like I walked away feeling like I was more blessed than they were. Like they got food, but I don't know, my heart was full, and like I was like, oh man, I could come back because now I've got too much. Now I need to give more.
Yeah.
Russell, tell us just about one of your favorite moments or experiences, ways that you've blessed or been blessed by serving.
Well, having come out to serve and work with the team that I do, and to encounter these folks, just to, I kind of went with the mindset of, Lord, help me to be a blessing to these folks, help me to make a difference to them. And I've shared this with Josh too. I said, and having done that and going in, coffee has been kind of my specialty since I've started there. And for such a simple drink, can invite and open up so many conversations. Josh has been there, I'm sure, before me, obviously, and he can tell you the same things. But to have these people in the situations that they're working through right now, and have them come up to me and say, Thank you for coming out today. Thank you for making coffee for me. Thank you for all that you guys do and coming out and serving us. It's just huge. I mean, you guys talk about being spiritually full. That can fill you up pretty quick, and it makes you want to come back again, as many times as you can, because that's what we're commanded to do as Christians. We're commanded to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And, Jesus was out there in ministry, and he was willing to meet those people where they were. And I think that's one of the things that's blessed me most.
Josh, where are you going next? What do you think is next for All Things for the Kingdom? What's on the plate?
So on the plate, hopefully, and this is all God's plan. We're very careful to say God's timing is for when God provides a building for us, right? We need a central location because we would like to be able to send out teams over the city. There's 30 homeless encampments in the city of Indianapolis by itself. Not to mention, if you go into other cities like Fort Wayne or even up in Noblesville, right? There are homeless populations all over. And so what we imagine, and this is vision, is having a building of operations where, like you got the whole kit and caboodle. We go out there, we set up the outdoor kitchen, got the music playing, we're having fun, and everybody's, you can feel the spirit. I would like to be able to send teams to the parts of the city where other people knew it and really kind of, and say, hey, here's the hot food. It's already prepared. It's in these Cambros. They take it. Here's some pop-ups. Here's some tables, and take it to the ones who we can't get to. So we look at it when we go downtown. We say that's a central location we can set up, and there's a big need there. There's other spots that are needed. And so hopefully God provides with us a building to where we can set up a central kitchen, an indie central kitchen where we can send and try and fill the need elsewhere as well too. And so we do that a couple of ways. Of course, monetary donations are great for us. And speaking of coffee, we have this thing called Kingdom Coffee. And so this is a really good fundraiser for us, where for a suggested donation, this is your free gift. And it's also a way to have a Jesus encounter at your home. Because we look at it like this, Americans, I think, spend so much money at Starbucks or whatever the going craze coffee is place in town. Seems like Brownsburg, a bunch of them are popping up now, right? And so it's like, you know what? That's great. Support local businesses. We're all for that. But that money is going in somebody else's pocket. And so we say, hey, we're not asking you to spend any extra money. We're saying, hey, take some of that same money you're spending on coffee and help the city's mission, help the less fortunate in the city. Because nobody gets paid at All Things for the Kingdom. This is all volunteer work. We all look at it and say, God's provided for us, right? God's always provided for us. So this is what our calling is to give back. And so just think, because not only is this good coffee, and I am very bourgeois when it comes to coffee, right? But think how much better this coffee is going to taste when you're sitting at your table and you're drinking that coffee. You just help some of the less fortunate in the city, and not taking any extra money that you're not already spending. You're already spending that money on coffee anyway. We're just redirecting it to mission work in Indy. And the best thing about this coffee is we actually roast it in-house, right? It is prayed over. Part of the coffee roasting process is you got to let coffee rest for at least 7 to, I think 3 weeks is the magic number, somewhere in between there. I will not give anyone a bag of coffee unless it's 7 days after roast. But during that 7 days, this coffee is prayed for, not only for the people who grew it, who transported it, to the people who roasted it, to the people who are brewing it, to the people who are in cup users, right? And then when it gets to your table, you can say, and whoever you're serving this to, they say, man, this is some great coffee. You can say, well, let me tell you the story of Kingdom Coffee and how Jesus is in the picture from seed to cup. And so we're working with some missional partners who are actually working with some coffee growers in Uganda. And so sometime between July and September, we're getting our first shipment from Uganda. They are actually taking the gospel to the coffee growers there. And we say, great, we grab it here, roast it with love, pray over it. And then anything we get off of the donations from the coffee goes to the mission work in Indy. So it is truly from God. Jesus is in it from seed to cup through the whole process. And like I said, if you read the back of this, it says, in Jesus, we find our true identities as beloved children of God. Our prayer is that we all remember that everything we say and do is a chance to reflect the love of Jesus. Even something as simple as sharing a cup of coffee, and that through Jesus encounters, others know that they are loved and lives are transformed. Whether enjoying our coffee on your own or with a friend, thank you for allowing us to be part of your day and joy. And so that's what it's really about. And it all comes back down to bringing it back to the table, whether it's a food philosophy. So that's kind of where it's going. And then there's also Kingdom Catering. This is on the way as well too. So a lot of people don't know I do competition barbecue and a lot of other stuff. And we're fortunate enough, some of our volunteers, we got 2 volunteers that have owned long-standing restaurants. We just had an executive owner of Olive Garden cooking with us Saturday as well too. So they're kicking me out of the kitchen realistically, but it's just a way to give back. And it truly all revolves around the food philosophy. And the clothing ministry is growing as well too.
Yeah. Russell, you have anything to add?
I just, it means so much, like Josh has been sharing as well too. Just being there, interacting with these folks, being able to take care of those needs, to fill those needs like Josh referenced earlier. And to be there just, for these people, it's important just to listen. Your willingness to listen and talk with them and see where they're at spiritually, having opportunities to pray for needs or different things. It's just amazing, just showing up and being there and the opportunities that God brings your way. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing to this, guy, real quick. One of the things that God does when we go out and serve is like we try and show what a visual of discipleship, serving, or meeting people where they're at. It's like those are 2 terms that we used to hear in church a lot: discipleship and meeting people where they're at. For me, the light bulb, sometimes I ask myself, we hear that a lot, but do we see, like, I'm a show me type of guy, right? I'm like, if you can do it, I can do it. And so when I got a visual of meeting people, that light bulb went off. Also, the same thing about some of the things about when you participate in discipleship, like what that actually looks like. And so that's another thing, is like, for us as Christians, if we really want to grow, right, in our walk, I think it's something that we really need to step out into. But here is the challenge part of that. That's the invitation part. The challenge is it'll be uncomfortable if you're not used to it, right? It'll be uncomfortable to take a leap of faith out, right? Take a step towards a leap of faith. But if we're not when we're uncomfortable, then that's when we're growing, right? And that's the main key about that. So the wonderful thing about it is we get to establish friendships. Like me and Russell, man, he's like one of my aces. I don't think he knows how much I love him, right? And he is in my circle. Scott, I don't think you know how much I love you. You are in my circle. And that's what discipleship looks like, when we are really each other's shoulders to lean on, where we can go, not just doing stuff like this, but I can call you up and be like, man, I need your opinion on something, right? And so, or just sharing things that happen or when we need support. And so I think that's really, really a good aspect. And I think we complement the church very well in that aspect. And so we want to be, just like we talk about Russell being a utility player on the production team, or a utility player on the All Things for the Kingdom team. That's what All Things for the Kingdom wants to be for the church. church, right? We want to be another organization that helps grow that relationship, take that personal step. Let's come on in and serve with us, and let's do this together, because that's what the body of Christ is supposed to look like.
So Josh, how can people get in contact with you, figure out how to support the ministry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how can they get in touch with you?
allthingsforthekingdom.org. So we have a website, allthingsforthekingdom.org. There is an events page on there, and there is a volunteer registration form. And of course, monetary donations. We do have Amazon wish lists. We're actually revamping those because we just took over the ministry I was telling you about, Whitestone. The founders of that have to move to Florida. And so we are absorbing that into our ministry. And so we have a fresh needs for that, as well as we're very targeted in clothing donations. Like right now, we need men's clothes. We need men's shorts. We need men's work pants. We need belts. We need T-shirts. We're into the summer clothes. As we get towards fall, and so really targeted donations that way. For our mobile food pantry, we need any canned goods that are pop topped. Think if you were out there, you don't have a can open or something popped up, the fruit cups, you can just peel off, beef jerky, packaged separately. The women, they requested menstrual pads, deodorant, but not the deodorant that'll melt. I tried that one time. It all melted right when it got really hot. So like the cans type stuff. So there's a need for that. So when you go on, if you're on social media, we do a lot on social media, Facebook and Instagram as well too. And there's videos of people when you go out and you see us kind of out there serving in the community as well. So if you want to get a feel for that, and of course monetary donations as well too, private donations, and then also the Kingdom Coffee as well too. And technically, I cannot say sell. We are a 501c3. So, I mean, if someone asks, they really need some coffee, we'll give you a bag, right? It is a suggested donation of $25 per bag. If we do that 12 times, we have paid for a month's outreach at Roberts Park. And so just by one bag of coffee, we can go out and make such a huge difference in the community. So that is another way to help us out. But here's the thing. I also tell people this, and this is a requirement. If you give to us, then you have to come out and serve with us, because we want you to see where your money's going. I cannot stress this enough. We are 100% volunteer based. There is no payroll. You can go online. Our 990s are filed. We do the long form. It'll tell you exactly where every dime goes. Most nonprofits don't even do that. We do it because we're an open book, and we want to invite people in, because that's what serving and discipleship looks like.
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful to both of you for inviting me in. I hope that the people who watch this also feel invited in. I can't wait to see you guys again. You're some of my favorite people. So looking forward to serving with you again. Thanks for doing this conversation, and see you out there.